Hey, I'm your host, Lindsay Lyman. I've spent the past 11 years at one of the largest tech companies in the world. My goal is to be the EQ leader for those working in high IQ tech settings. Because without solutions to deal with the constant reorgs, bad managers, and that hum of anxiety, you're one escalation away from losing it. But there's an easier way, and I can show you how. Let's go. Hey y'all, hope you're having fun. We had a snow day yesterday. It was exhausting. If I'm being honest. School was canceled and my girls were actually great. I still needed to work and just figured, you know what, as a working parent, this is what we do sometimes. I think it was the 3 times I had to snow blow the driveway that I was over it. I'm done for the season and it's the beginning of December. I've got a long ways to go. Anyhow, we're going to make it. Okay, other fun thing that made me laugh this week. I love a good meme. Send them to me if you guys have them. Come find me on Instagram or email them to me. But today, the one that made me laugh, I don't know if you've noticed, people are starting to post kind of their 2022 year in review, top songs they listen to, top artists, top genres from Spotify. And this meme says, Spotify, the only tech company to figure out how to successfully rebrand, we've been tracking you, to isn't this fun? Oh, I love it. So, that one hits a little close to home, knowing that the company I work for does a lot of tracking people and their data and their habits to provide automation and personalization. Anyways, made me laugh. What made you laugh today? Tell me, what are you doing to have fun? I want to know. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about part 2 of layoffs and something I'm noticing with my team, my friends. I'm experiencing it a bit myself, but if your company recently went through a round of layoffs, there's this weird thing happening for those of us that are still at companies like this. I don't know if it's like so much survivor's guilt per se, as it's just this really anxious, nervous, afraid spot many of us are working from. No one knows the future. No one knows if there's more layoffs coming, when they might be, who it might impact. And so when you're waking up every day with this uncertainty because you're not sure, do you have an email for a meeting with HR today? Are you going to lose your job today or not? It really creates this recipe for disaster. If you're anything like myself or people I work closely with, you might be in this boat and really struggling to focus and to feel driven and to feel psychologically safe at work. Yes, truth of the matter is you could have been laid off at any time, but knowing the way that the current economy is today and what is happening across multiple companies, it makes believing these thoughts around it could happen a little bit more intense. You might notice you wake up with kind of like a pit in your stomach and all you want to do is check your email to see if there's that HR meeting, but you're also really nervous to do that. You might notice you're having a really hard time staying focused at work. You're probably lacking motivation. You're feeling a little bit down. You're counting down the hours, waiting for the weekend, pushing off the projects you can. Yet at the same time, there's kind of this insecurity and scarcity that's making you feel like you've got to work twice as hard, prove your value, justify your position even more, which is just a recipe to very accelerated burnout. When you feel like you can't say no, that you can't push back, when you can't escalate, when you intellectually know you don't have to work twice as hard, but emotionally it feels like if you don't, you're going to be on the chopping block, that's a hard spot to show up and work from every day. Your self-doubt is in extreme hyperload when we're in this spot. And so now you feel like any mistake or anything you're not as good at as someone else is basically putting a target on your back. Like I said, this is not sustainable. And if this is how you keep showing up to your job every day, I guarantee you, you will work yourself into a real problem, whether it's physical, emotionally, economically. You cannot sustain yourself working from this extreme place of fear. When I get into a place like this, I tend to either eat all the things. Because you know what makes me feel better? Donuts. Okay, not in the long run. They don't feel better. But in the moment, donuts feel better than the uncertainty I have about my job. Maybe you stop sleeping, and after a while, your body may start to shut down. Maybe you start to go crazy and you just can't even drag yourself out of bed. Your ability to think creatively and strategically is going to be impacted at work, and you're not going to be working at your best. And now you're not necessarily at risk of getting laid off, because layoffs are not performance-based, but you may be at risk of losing your job because you're not actually doing it. But it kind of makes me think of my friend Stephanie. Steph and I have been through a lot together. And back in the day, she and I were living together in Seattle, and there was a period where I really got into running. And I think I ran like 6 half marathons one year. It was so fun. I loved it. And she came to one of my races. I think it was like the rock and roll race downtown Seattle. And she came and she like found me close to the end. And at the end, like, she's just one of those amazing people you want to have your friend. So at the end, I finished the race and we're chit-chatting and talking. And the way the race was set up, everyone, whether you ran the half marathon or the full marathon, you all finished at the same place. And for those of you that are runners or know much about it, you know, when you run that far, that long, your gut is impacted by it. And so people that are like ultra marathoners or really into it, they have been known to poop themselves, okay, to poop their pants, because they don't want to stop. They need to release their bowels. So they just let it go and keep running. And I think this had happened to a few of the marathon people, because Stephanie was talking to me about it afterwards. And she was like, Linz, just so we're clear, nothing is worth pooping your pants over. And we laughed about it, and I was like, oh, 100%, I agree. Because for me, running was about enjoying it, moving my body, being outside, having the mental space to just be in my head. I was not in it to win and set records. And there are people out there that do that, and love you, keep at it. I fully support you. But I'm with Stephanie that nothing is worth pooping your pants over. And this funny thought pops into my head so often. I don't know if that means I have like the brain of a 12-year-old boy, but there's a lot of things in life that we could get really worked up and really freaked out about. And I just remind myself, literally or metaphorically, nothing is worth pooping my pants over. Okay. If you find yourself in this state where it's just not sustainable and you're feeling like you have to double down at work and it's slowly eating away at you, remember, you don't have to poop your pants about this. We don't have to be freaking out. We don't have to be spinning in overwhelm and freak out and anxiety and uncertainty. There's 3 things I want to tell you of how to get out of this hard state. The first I want to offer you is you don't have to do anything. You really don't. You don't have to show up to work. You don't have to reply to your emails. You don't have to launch that product. You don't have to write that document. You don't have to go to the meeting. You don't have to give a comment in the meeting. You don't. You're choosing to. Now, if you don't, there may be issues. Again, if you don't do your job, you may not have a job, but you don't have to do it. So stop lying to yourself. Stop saying yes when you don't actually have the time. Stop saying okay to scope creep when you and the team don't have the capacity. Stop checking your email at night because you think it's going to help you stay caught up. This will lead to resentment and blame. You don't have to do it. You can do it if you want, but be onto yourself and tell yourself, I'm choosing to do this. I saw another meme recently that struck a chord as very true, saying my toxic trait is refusing to let others help and then resenting everyone because I have to do it all on my own. Don't be this person in a work setting. You don't have to do it. Okay, so we're trying to get out of this state of feeling like we have to work twice as hard so that if there's more layoffs, we are not on the list. Second, ruthlessly prioritize. something is going to have to go. You're going to have to say no to something. If your company has goals and expectations and things you need to deliver, and now you're expected to do it with less resources, the reality is something's got to go. Don't let your mental sanity, your sleep, your peace, your calm, your brightness be the thing that goes. Everything we need to get done at work feels important. Okay? Ruthlessly prioritizing, it's not easy. It's when you have to say no to something that you really want to do, that you can see the benefit of, that you can see the value, that you know is going to help drive you to that goal. But you can't do it all. Choose the hard thing on purpose. You can choose to not say no and feel all of the burnout and resentment and mental and emotional and physical struggle that comes from continuing to say yes and not ruthlessly prioritizing. You really can. And by default, that's what most of us do because we think it's going to be better. But the other thing you could also choose to do is choose to feel the stress and the mental and emotional and potentially physical impact of saying no to something and choosing your sanity and not pooping your pants instead. It's gonna be hard either way, my friend. Choose the one that's gonna give you the long-term gain you actually want. In my opinion, what's the point of having a job when you are just at rock bottom? I say if you're going to be at rock bottom and stop working at least. I don't know. That's just me. This is also where you can apply that method I've talked about of yes and. People don't like to hear no. When they hear no, they get very defensive. This is where you can say, yes, I can totally do that. And as soon as X, Y, and Z is done, we can do it. And let me know, do you want me to drop this or this? So if we're trying not to live in this like resentful, overworking, I have to do two people's job place, if we are still working in an environment where we believe there could be more layoffs, first, remind yourself you don't have to do anything. You get to choose what you want to do. Second, ruthlessly prioritize. Third, remember you cannot control things outside of you. You can't control how other people feel. And you cannot control if there are going to be more layoffs or not. Leaders are always going to want more, faster, cheaper, at bigger scale. You cannot make them happy. You hitting goals, you over delivering, you driving automation and scale isn't going to make them happy. It may influence the thoughts they have that make them feel happy. But remember, feelings come from our thoughts. You can't control other people's brains. If layoffs are going to happen, they're going to happen no matter how well you hit goals or not. People that got laid off were great top performers. They hit goals. Their performance had nothing to do with whether they had a job or not. It was due to larger strategic and economic impacts. If your performance is an issue, I promise you, your company's going to let you know. That's not a question. But trying to control other people, trying to make them like you and think you're doing a good job and trying to prevent more layoffs from happening is a game you cannot win and will continue to lead to that burnout. So here's a few things I would offer to you to remind your brain and practice thinking. I don't have to want to do it, but I can still choose to do it. I figured it out every day. I can figure it out today. My value comes from being a good human, not on my output. And lastly, it's okay to not be okay all the time. Choose the discomfort of prioritizing, of saying no, of acknowledging you may do some things you don't want, but choose you. Choose your mental and emotional and physical health. No matter what happens, you will always have you and your brain. Optimize to that, not the things you can't control. Okay, my calendar's filling up fast for the end of the year. If you want a spot to get some help with this or anything else you're struggling with, I highly recommend you get on there this week. Most likely my spots will be full by the time my podcast comes out next week. So I'm here. You're amazing. Keep going. Have a great holiday season. Don't forget to have fun. You got this. We'll talk soon. If you listen to this podcast and feel heard and seen for the first time in a while, this is just the beginning. I offer a limited number of free coaching calls. On this call, we'll talk about what's going on, and you'll leave with specific ways to start feeling better today. So listen to that inner pull and let's chat. Grab some time on my calendar before I'm booked up. To schedule a call, click the link in the show notes or go to lindsaylymancoaching.com/chat and sign up. You got this.